Hey everyone, welcome to episode 17 of What's Up Biscotte Yarns with Julie. I'm your host Julie, filming from our store in Northvale, New Jersey. Today I'll be sharing 4 patterns with you. One is what I'm wearing, it's a poncho. One is on the mannequin next to me, which is a shawl or shawlette. We also have a scarf pattern on the playlist as well as a sock pattern. So let's get right into it with the sock pattern. So I am holding up a model of the Seascape Socks, or sock because I'm holding one, and it was designed by Andrea Yetman. And here it is. Let me bring it closer so you can see the pattern. This sock, let's talk about the construction, is from the top down, starting with the cuff, and you'll see that there is ribbing in there, but also with this cabling work that mimics the whale's tail. And then when you're done with this section, you move on to the legs part, and the pattern, the design, is pretty consistent for the whole circumference of the leg. And you will notice that obviously the contrasting color, there are 2 colors used to make the sock. You would use the contrasting color to knit up the pattern. So the first time it goes to the left, and then the next time it goes to the right, so on and so forth. And that pattern is consistent to the almost toe part of the sock. When you're done knitting the tube here for your leg, then you will go ahead and do the heel flap. For the pattern, she had written out an option for you. You could do forethought, F-O-R-E, forethought heel, or the traditional heel flap. This looks like a traditional heel flap to me, like a slip one, knit one. But the forethought is also pretty straightforward and simple. When you are done knitting the leg part of the sock, then you would take a contrasting color yarn, scrap yarn, and knit the 32 stitches that would be for the heel. And then you will take your needle and stick it back through the stitches, those 32 stitches with the contrasting color, and then you will continue on with the pattern for the foot. And then when you're done, after you've finished the toe and everything is done, then you will go back and pick out the contrasting color, that scrap yarn that you have put in there, and then you will work your heel of choice then. So it's a forethought because you have thought about it before you continue on to do that method, as opposed to the afterthought heel, which is you just do your tube and then you do your foot, and then you go back and cut. So you have to do a little steeking there. So that's called an afterthought heel. So getting back to the Seascape, you would knit that, you do the heel, you do the foot, and then you will take your main color and do your toe decreases and Kitchener stitch to close up the toe, and then you do a rinse and repeat. The pattern for this, the Seascape, the main motif, if you will, of the pattern, Andrea had also designed a sweater using this motif. I think the sweater pattern came first and then the sock came second. But the good news is, whether it's the sweater version or the sock version, those patterns are free downloads on our website at biscotteyarns.com. So yay! Now the yarns that were used to make this sock were from the Louise Robert collection, this sock, and here is the combo. The main color, the colorway is Traviata. Here you go. And then the contrasting color is very autumnal. Here it is. It's called Gauguin, G-A-U-G-U-I-N, Gauguin. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Very nice color, very autumnal, like I was saying. And the technical specification, you will use a US size 1.5 knitting needles or 2.5 millimeter to get gauge, which is 9 stitches to an inch for this project. The sizing for this is only one size, standard, women sizing. 64 stitches, if that makes sense to you. And also the patterns for the color work and the little cabling that's done at the beginning where the cuffs are, those are charted, and there's no written instruction for that. But excuse me, for all the other parts for the sock construction, it is written out. Next up is the shawl that is no longer on the mannequin, that is no longer there because it is in my hand. This is called the Night and Day Shawl by Takako Takiguchi. And let me hold it up and hide my face so you can see the whole thing, or most of the shawl. Ta-da! The size of this looked more like a shawlette, but I suppose if you use thicker yarn, have a bigger gauge, then you can have a bigger shawl. But anywho, so it is called the Night and Day Shawl. I think it's pretty obvious because of the color contrasting. This is one variation of it. There are different color combinations that you can do, make it your own, right? So I'll show you the yarns later. So here are 3 different yarns that are used to make up this shawl. Here's the dark part, the light part, and then for the edging, which is cabling, is a 3rd color. So it's a really nice marriage. The construction of this, it's a little bit of intarsia, a little bit of cabling, and then obviously you know, increases because you're going to grow the width of the shawl as you're making it. So I think that, yeah, I did a shawl last week, the last episode, where it's a similar technique. So you can see the edging here is a little bit different than, like, how it appears is different than how it showed up in the shawl from the last episode. Because, well, I mean, you can still see like the dotted line here from the flip side. Because remember how when you're introducing the new yarn, you have to like give it a twist to lock the colors in place and not create any holes. In terms of the stitching, like on the big panels, is pretty, you know, straightforward, your knits and purls. And then there are 2 types of cabling that you will need to do to work up this shawl. One is on the spine, both for the light color as well as the dark color. And then for the edging, and it's diamond, so it's diamond cables. So this is not ideal for beginners for obvious reasons, but you know, she had graded this for intermediate knitters. The yarns that were used to make this shawl, the trio, are here. From, again, from the Louise Robert collection, except for this one, but it's the DK Pure nonetheless, and that's 90% superwash merino and 10% silk. In the colorways are Loch, L-O-C-H, which means lake. And then here is the, indigo, which means indigo. And then here, this is the colorway Carabine, which makes up the diamond cable border. The spec for this, Takako had prescribed US 4 knitting needles or 4 millimeters, and that should get you a gauge of 4.5 stitches per inch. This pattern is available for sale on our website, but we also have a kit available. There are usually several different colorways for the kits that we put together for you, and that's true for like all the patterns that we make available. Whenever there is a kit for the project, then the pattern is a free gift to you. So buy the yarn, basically buy the yarn, and the pattern is free for you. But if you want to put together your own colorway because that's fun and that's what you like to do, of course you're welcome to do that as well. Next up, we have a scarf pattern. It's called the Double DK Scarf, and here it is. Another kind of intarsia project. So here, obviously, it's made with 2 different color yarn, and they are worked simultaneously, similar to the shawl and the other shawl that I spoke of last week. You work with 1 color, and then you do that little twisting business, and then you work the other color, and then you work your way back, because it's a scarf, so you work back and forth. And you would do the cast on, so first you cast on 30 stitches, and then you will cast on with a contrasting color or color B another 30 stitches, and then you will knit across and then knit back. Actually, this is ribbing, so you would do knit, purl, and then on the way back, knit, purl. And then this, if you look closer, is reversible, not only because of the ribbing effect, but also because the cables are also kind of reversible. Big braids for this one. I didn't really measure the length of this, but it's a scarf, so it's going to be however long you want it to be. I have read somewhere that this is a really popular question. A lot of students or customers who come in and I'm talking with them, the #1 question about knitting scarf is, how long should the scarf be? It should be however long you want it to be, which is it's such a true answer. There's a lot of truth to that, but it's also a really annoying answer, because that doesn't really answer. It's not the answer that the person who posed the question is asking. They want you to give them a number. So give them a number, and this is the number I give them. Usually, the length of the scarf should be the height of the person who will be wearing it. So if you are 6 foot tall, or if you're knitting for someone who's 6 feet, then you will knit the scarf 6 feet long, or 72 inches. So of course, there are always exceptions to the rule. If you wanted to wrap around your neck a little bit more, like a double loop, triple loop, whatever, then knit it longer. If you don't want a big fabric, lugging around, and you want it a little shorter, you just want like a crossover tuck, under your jacket or your cardigan, then make it shorter. That's where the first answer comes into play. Make it however long you want. But if you must go by a number, then generally speaking, make it as long as the height of the person who is wearing the scarf. So I hope that helps and answers this burning question that seems to plague a lot of people out there. So as I was saying, sorry I digressed a little bit there, the scarf, again, the name of it is Double DK Scarf, designed by Louise Robert. This is another freebie pattern, so you can go onto our website and grab your copy for free. The last and final pattern that we are going to talk about today is what I'm wearing. It is named the Défilé de Fées, I hope I'm saying that right, which translates to fairy parade, fairy as in Tinkerbell. This was designed by our very own Louise Robert, one more time, and the yarn used to make this awesome poncho is with, it's under her collection, the Louise Robert collection kit silk, and here is the quartet, the 4 colors that were used. I'll save time and not really shout out to all the colors, but all the detail information is in the description box below for this, as well as all the other patterns that I have talked about in this episode, and in every episode for that matter. So in terms of the technicals, let's take a peek. So we used US 8 knitting needles, or 5mm, to knit this wonderful poncho up, and the gauge for this piece is 4.5 stitches to 1 inch. The measurement, while we're talking about it, for the top part, it's obviously a wide neck, but it's not super wide, like it's gonna give you the flash dance effect, which I don't like. I like this width. It's 30 inches. And then it bells out. Let me stand up and show you. So it kind of like bells out. So the increase is to the final circumference, 60 inches at the bottom. The length of the poncho is 25 inches. And I like the length of it. It covers, you know, my tummy, which is very helpful when I've had too much to eat. But it falls like under my belt line, and I like that. It's very, it's perfectly fitting. I like it a lot, and I think this goes well as a dress up or a dress down. Obviously today I'm wearing jeans, so it looks kind of cool, don't you think? I have a cami underneath, but if I were to wear like the strap that's a little wider, like on a tank top or something, I think that'll look cool too. It's like nice and casual. But I could also picture this piece, because it looks so delicate, it's just gorgeous, that it will work well if you wear a dress underneath and put this over as covering. So you have options. The pattern is lace, is all over lace. Let me come closer to the camera. Looks like pieces of leaves or feather, however you see it. And the pattern is both charted for this design. There's a chart for it, as well as written out instructions if that's what you prefer. So you have options. This is a paid for pattern that's available on our website, and we also have kits made for this. So like I said before, there's this colorway, and then there are other color options put together for you, you know, if you don't want to be bothered with putting colors together. One other thing that is special about this pattern is it's altruistic. Biscotte yarns, there are a handful of patterns that are made available. I have actually mentioned this in one of the earlier episodes, where when you have purchased the kit or the pattern, a portion of the proceeds from those sales will be donated to the Douglas Foundation. They are a Canadian-based organization that does research and help those who are suffering from mental illnesses. So not only will it be good for you, you know, feeling good about knitting something for yourself or for a loved one, but in doing so, you are also helping out a very good cause. So all of this information in terms of the patterns, links, colorways, everything is in the description box below, and as well as our contact information to the store. My social handles and everything is also all in the description box if you wanted to get in touch. Of course, there's also the comments boxes down below, so if you wanted to, you know, say hi or comment on today's episode, you know, you're very welcome to leave me a note or leave us a note. And that's about it for today. Those are our 4 patterns, and this is the end of episode 17. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed today's content with those free patterns. Yay! And if you happen to be working on one of our patterns or working with our yarn, put it on your Instagram and hashtag us Biscotte Yarns, and we would love to follow your knitting journey or crocheting journey along the way. Until next time, friends, happy crafting.